There's nothing that gets a person quite worked up more than color war in camp. But, it's supposed to be playful. It's supposed to be exciting. You're playing sports and competing and whatever. You're competing against songs and like, but at the end of the day, it's just pretend. It's just a game, right? So therefore, both teams, everybody learns that famous chant, that song, Aleph Ches, Daleth Vav Saf. We've got Achdus, and it's more than enough. And like it's supposed to like put a band-aid, I guess, on like the fact that really you feel like angry and like your temper is rising and like, but you sing that song and it like supposed to pretend at least that no, everybody's no, we all love each other, and maybe deep down it underscores that reality. Maybe um, I was thinking about that chant recently, though. To be honest, I don't really understand it. Aleph Ches, Daleth Vav Saf. I get that part. It spells Achdus. Very good. We've got Achdus, and it's more than enough. So Mashiach's not here yet. And we know that one of the criteria for Mashiach is Achdus, oneness. So clearly it's not enough. And it's perhaps harming to say that in a song. I'm saying this a little bit as a joke, but a little bit serious too, that we've got Achdus and it's more than enough. Clearly it's not enough. We have to do more to become one, to be one. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Rebelli Metz, for sponsoring this week's video as a Zechus for a Shidduch for Nechama Bracha Bas LeYehudis, and as a Zechus for Atzlacha Rabba for Elio Abba Ben Racha. If you'd like to sponsor a future video, a Parsha Shiur, a class right here on Torah Anytime, please reach out to me. It would mean the world. Thank you so much. So, Achdus. Let's talk about Achdus. This week's Parsha, we experience the story of Yaakov Avinu having a fight with the Sar Shel Esav. We know Yaakov Avinu didn't start the fight. He didn't pick the fight. He didn't want to fight, but he was fought against by the Sar Shel Esav, which is representative of the Yetzer Hara. And he says, Lo Yachalo. When I say he, I mean not Yaakov, I mean the Sar. The Sar Shel Esav, the Yetzer Hara says, Lo Yachalo, I can't defeat this man. I can't defeat this holy person, but at least I could injure him. I could hurt him. I could damage him. And so he goes for his sciatic nerve. What's the sciatic nerve in a human? Well, I'm glad you asked. So I guess this should be relatively accurate. It's from the Cleveland Clinic. It's pretty cool. You have this guy who's in pain. It looks like he just got hit by the Sar Shel Esav. He's in back pain, right? So it's right over there. It's actually the longest nerve. It's the longest nerve in the human body. And truth is, on an animal, I was going to print out a picture of an animal, which is what the Isur is. You're not allowed to eat a Gid HaNasheh. The Torah tells us, Al Kain lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael as Gid HaNasheh, asher al kafa yorech ad hayom hazeh. Till this day, we can't eat a Gid HaNasheh ad hayom hazeh. There will be a time where when it will be kosher to eat, but now we can't. During Galus, during the exile, we're not. That's where Yaakov Avinu was damaged in the sciatic, and therefore on an animal we don't eat the Gid HaNasheh. And I was going to print out a picture of an animal skid to show you, but I wouldn't want to ruin your appetite for the next week and a half, so you're welcome. Okay, so the Gid HaNasheh Achdus, and what does one have to do with the other? So I want to share with you a couple of unbelievable ideas related to the Gid HaNasheh. First of all, the Gid HaNasheh, the Isur to eat the Gid HaNasheh is the third mitzvah in the Torah, right? First one was Puravu, next one was Mila, the next one, Gid HaNasheh. It's the first lo saseh in the entire Torah. You're not allowed to eat a Gid HaNasheh. I do not remember where I saw this. I definitely saw this somewhere. And if you know where the source is, please reach out to me, rabbistrumo@gmail.com. I've been trying to find it, but I just don't remember it. Anyways, the idea is that it's the first lo saseh in the Torah. And unlike mitzvah saseh, where, let's say I'm Mekayim it right now, and you're Mekayim it then, right? Let's say I went to a 7 o'clock minyan in Shacharis, right? And I put on my tefillin. But you went to 8 o'clock minyan. So were we Mekayim the mitzvah of phylacteries at the same time? No, I was doing it at 7 and you were at 8. And you could apply that to pretty much every mitzvah saseh. But when it comes to a mitzvah lo saseh, there's a certain level of it that binds us at once because we're all not doing it at the same time, right? Because we're abstaining from it, we're not doing it, it actually unifies us because we're all experiencing that at the same time. So the first mitzvahs losa say that we all experience together at once, so happens to be the Gid HaNasheh, which has a very deep connection to the idea of oneness, to Achdus. I want to share with you a couple ideas. I saw this brought down. The word Gid. The word Gid is related to Aguda. Aguda, like Aguda Achas, which represents Achdus. Noshe represents forgetting, right? Kinashani Elokim, because I have forgotten. So what happens when you put these two together? You have Gid, which represents an Aguda, Achdus, and forgetting. Forgetting Achdus. That's the Gid. That's the Isur of Gid HaNasheh. On a deep level, the Isur of Gid HaNasheh is that it's usher to forget about Achdus. It's usher to forget about unification, about brotherhood, about being together. There's a lot of ways you could sum up Yiddishkeit. I want to share with you a drash on the word Achdus. Achdus, Aleph Ches, Daled Vav Saf, right? So Daled Saf is Das, which represents religion. You want to sum up our religion? You want to sum up Yiddishkeit? It's one word. The word right before that, Ach, brotherhood, a band of brothers, because we're unified by Torah Achas, by Avinu Shebashamayim, which makes us all one. So you want to sum up our Das, our religion? It's Ach, and that's Achdus. It's that oneness, that togetherness. Gid HaNasheh, the Isur of Gid HaNasheh, is the Torah teaching us on some deep level. It's usher to forget about Achdus. Again, Nasheh represents Neshani, forgetting. Gid represents Aguda. We cannot forget about Achdus. That is our core. That is our Kli. That's Machzik Bracha, is Shalom. So that's that's one of the main things that we need, especially in this exile, when the mitzvah of Gid HaNasheh is relevant. And by us all not eating it at the same time, that itself unifies us. I saw a fascinating take. The pasuk tells us, "Al kein lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael as Gid HaNasheh." We're not allowed to eat as Gid HaNasheh, and I believe it's based on a medrash. I saw this from Rav Eibishitz as well. That lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael, the Torah is hinting to us days of the year that we cannot eat. Al kein lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael. When can b'nei Yisrael not eat? Es Gid HaNasheh. Es represents Tisha of Taf Aleph, Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. Gimel is Gedalia. Gid is Gedalia, Tzom Gedalia. Gimel represents Gedalia. Yud from the word Gid represents Sarbateves. Gimel Yud Dalet is Gematria 17, right? Shavasar B'Tammuz. And these are the days of Hanasheh, which means Hashana, the years. These are the days of the year that we fast. Lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael on these days. We don't eat on these days. Well, why not? You know how Tisha B'Av started? You know why we got into this, that we cannot eat on these days? Why do we even fast? Like, what's going on? Well, we know very much. We know very well, quite clearly. Chazal are pretty clear. Sinas Chinam. There was a lack of Achdus, and that led. It was a lack of Achdus that led to these calamities, that led to these events that till today, Adi Mazeh, Lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael es Gid HaNasheh. We don't eat es Gid HaNasheh on these days of the year. The Zohar tells us, we have 365 sinews, right? Shasa Gidim, right? So that means that there are 365 of these Gidim in our body that correspond to different things, to different days of the year. The Zohar tells us that which Gid corresponds to the day of Tisha B'Av, right? There's 365 days in the year. You know which day corresponds to the Tisha B'Av? It's the Gid HaNasheh. So again, we see this fundamental connection between the Gid HaNasheh and the importance of the Isser of the Gid HaNasheh, the importance of not forgetting of Achdus, because that's how this ultimately started. And there's a chizuk here. The Sefer HaChinuch tells us that the Yaakov Avinu being damaged, and not being destroyed it's not just his story. And it's not just a story being conveyed. The raya is that, the Torah was given later, yet the Torah tells us, oh yeah, the Sar hit Esau, the Sar of Esau hit Yaakov. He was damaged, right? Al Kain, therefore, lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael as Gid HaNasheh. B'nei Yisrael. There's no such thing as b'nei Yisrael yet. The Torah wasn't even given yet. Yeah, it's true. The mitzvah existed. The Torah is telling us the story of Yaakov Avinu, but it's really telling us the story of the Jewish people. Sefer HaChinuch tells us something startling. He says that, because the nations of the world, the Sar Shal Esav, the Yitzhahara, in Galus, all they can do at the very most is hurt us. They could injure us. They could damage us. But destroy us? Lo yachalo. Lo yachalo, it's not possible, because we're here to stay. The mitzvah of Gid HaNasheh, this is where the Sefer HaChinuch brings this. On the mitzvahs, let's say, of Gid HaNasheh, it tells us we're here to stay. And the Gid HaNasheh tells us we're here to stay. Yeah, they could hurt us, they could damage us, maybe we'll walk around with a limp. It's true. But we're ultimately here to stay. And one of the rayas for this is that Las Levo, the Gid HaNasheh is going to be kosher again. We're going to eat it because we're going to see that. We're going to see that promise come to fruition. All they can do is damage us and hurt us, and they could try to make us forget about Achdus and the thing that brings us together. But that's all they can do. Lo yochalo. They're unable to actually mamish destroy us, because Hashem tells us we're here for good. We're here to stay. Such an interesting contrast, on the topic of Achdus between Lavan and Yaakov. Lavan means white, and white is just boring. It's just plain. There's potential, but it's just white. There's nothing really going on. Yaakov Avinu represents color. Yaakov Avinu had 12 sons, and each son had a unique color, a stone that was represented on the Urim and Tumim, right? On the Choshen. Every son represented a different color. Not only that, but one of the symbolisms of the Ksonas Pasim, that tunic, it was colorful. When it comes to Yaakov Avinu, there was color because there was individuality that was together. And when all the colors come together, it creates something beautiful. Lavan is just boring, plain old white. Esav was simply just red and only red, Edom, right? But Yaakov Avinu represented this mix. He represented this Achdus. He represented this Givanim Harbi, a lot of colors. And a person has to know that my color matters and his color matters. And when we all put ourselves together, it creates this beautiful tapestry, this beautiful tunic, this Ksonas Pasim. Rashi on the words Gid HaNasheh tells us, Lefisha noshe mimkomo va'ola, because it's like dislocated from its place. Noshe mimkomo. Every yid has a makom. Every yid has their own unique place. And the problem of the Gid HaNasheh is that you're removing it. You're dislocating the thing from its place. The sciatic is being dislocated from its place. That's what happened in this story. And oftentimes in our lives, we try to say, no, you don't belong there, or a person has a certain thing. No, he doesn't deserve that. We try to be noshem and kaimah. And it's the Isur of Gid HaNasheh is saying, no, we don't touch the Gid HaNasheh. No, we leave you in your place. We leave you have a makom and I have a makom. You have a color, I have a color. Ohr HaChaim tells us that the Gid has no flavor. It's not no same tam. Because when it comes to us as Yidden, each one of us has a unique tam. Each one of us has a unique tam that's no same, that's meant to be given over, that's meant to be joint forces. You want to just have an empty plate that's just white? Okay, Lavan. You want to just have red soup that's lentil-like? Okay, but no, a Yid, on his plate, there's the green broccoli, and there's the white chicken, and there's the dark thing, and there's the dip, and it all comes together and unify. Why do you think Judaism, again, I don't know this for sure, but I feel like this might be true, that by, in terms of like percentage-wise, like there's more Jewish kosher cookbooks, more than anything else. Why is that? Why are Jewish cookbooks like top sellers? You want to put out a book and make money in the Jewish market? Put out a cookbook. You think it's just because we're into Gashmias? Okay, maybe. But there's got to be a deeper, positive, there's something positive going on there. Why is it that kosher cookbooks are like a thing? And in the kosher market, you want to put out Svarim, put out a cookbook if you want to make some moolah, make some cash. think because the essence of a Yid is that we do things with a lot of flavor, and there's a lot of different types of food, and it's all meant to come together. Different types of dishes, and this type and that type, and it represents us Yidden. We're all Nosein Tam. We're all meant to give a unique flavor, a unique color, and ultimately that's what comes together and creates the Achdus. It creates that brother. It creates that oneness. Another thing on this topic, the Torah itself admits in this pasuk of Gid HaNasheh, it tells us B'nai Yisrael. Again, if that's not implementation or a calling for implementation of being B'nai Yisrael, being one, of having Achdus, then I don't know what it is. Again, they're not B'nai Yisrael yet. Yet the Torah is alluding to us that, because on this topic of Gid HaNasheh, Lo Yochlu Gid HaNasheh, we're all not going to be eating at the same time. We're one. We're abstaining from this food that's not Nosein Tam because we all have our own, reminding us that we all have our unique Tam. That's when we're B'nai Yisrael. It's dafka when we connect to this mitzvah, say, of Gid HaNasheh, that we tap into what it means to be B'nai Yisrael, that we tap what it means to be one. I want to share with you and end off with a story. There was a boy who came home from Cheder. I realized that if you say a story and it's a Hasidic type of Maisa, and you say Cheder, you're kind of doing everyone an injustice. So I apologize. There was a boy who came home from Cheder. Okay, he came home from Cheder, and he's doing his homework with his tata, with his father, and he's reading the psukim in the Torah, in the Torah, and after every pasuk, the boy says Hashem's name, and the father was like, "I'm pretty sure I'm paying some good cash for tuition." Again, he said this in his head. I'm pretty sure I'm paying some good. What's the matter with your Rebbe? Like, didn't you learn something? After every single pasuk, you're saying Hashem's name? Tzaddik, what's going on? Why are you doing that? And the boy showed him. And I have a chumash in front of me, so I want to show you. So the boy said, "Well, Dad, I learned that two yods, two dots next to each other, represent Hashem's name, right? We know that two yods is Hashem's name. So if you look after every pasuk in the Torah, at least in a chumash, it has two dots next to each other. So that's why after every pasuk, the boy said, I say Hashem's name." And his father smiled, and he thought it was cute. And he said, "I'm going to tell you something that I hope you never forget. If you see two dots next to each other, side by side, that is when it's Hashem's name. If you see two dots, one on top of each other, then that's not Hashem's name. That's a sof pasuk. That's the end. You see, a yud represents a yid. And if two Yidden are side by side next to each other, if two Yidden are able to see eye to eye, they're able to have Achdus, they're able to respect one another, they're able to see the Nosein Tam, they're able to see that this person has a flavor, that this person has their unique makom, that this person has their unique things to offer. If you see two Yidden next to each other side by side, then there's Hashras Shechina. Hashem will rest His divine glory on them, and there will be this great unification, and there's this. Then that's when you can say Hashem's name. But if you see two Yidden, one on top, two dots, two Yidden, one on top of the other, then one person looks at the other and, "I'm better than you, I'm on top of you," then guess what that is? You don't say Hashem's name there. That's sof pasuk. It's cut off. That's the end. That's Horban. That's where destruction ensues. So the boy never forgot this lesson. You want to know when Hashem's Shechina is truly Shaira? It's when you have two Yidden side by side, connecting, seeing eye to eye, respecting each other for their differences, because of their differences, because of their difference in color, because of their difference in Tam. Every person is unique. And Aleph Ches, Aleph Vav Saf, we've got Achdus, and it's not enough yet because Mashiach is not here. So we want to bring Mashiach. Let's continue to focus on that oneness, on togetherness, of seeing eye to eye, of not feeling like you're a Yid on top of another Yid, but that you're side by side, respecting each other. And in that merit, may we all be zocha not to eat the Gid HaNasheh, and realizing that all the while we're doing that, we're experiencing the same thing at the same time, and we're unified by this Los essay. So let's work on becoming more unified and respecting each other. And Be'ezus Hashem, we'll be able to eat the Gid HaNasheh very soon with the coming of Mashiach. Thank you very much, and have an amazing rest of your week. If you are not following the Shiur, if you have not subscribed yet, it goes a long way, and you'll be able to get updated on when new Shiurim are posted. And leave a comment, leave a like, and see you next time.